Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Naureen. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Black Vietnam veteran finally honored with Medal of Honor. Murda's fall from grace ends in life sentence for murder. Biden rallies Senate Democrats endorses Republican measure. Two Americans arrested on charges of selling aviation tech to Russia. Storms roll eastward after slamming Texas, one death reported. US South Korea announced largest field exercises in 5 years. Police says Venezuelan businessman killed son self in Miami. US Ambassador Cindy McCain to head UN World Food Programme. Hong Kong probes cause of blaze in shopping district. Fire at Indonesian oil depot kills 17, thousands evacuated. Quad FMs wary of China's might push Indo-Pacific options. Jailed Malaysia ex-PM Najib acquitted in latest 1MDB trial. King Charles III picks France, Germany for first state visits. Cambodian opposition leader gets 27 years on treason charge. US offers reward of up to 5 million for Congo's IS leader. Nigeria opposition renews calls to overturn election result. Panthers founder, former owner Jerry Richardson dies at 86. Schifrin misses out in Super G, still chasing 86th victory. And Medvedev beats Djokovic in Dubai, Rublev sends peace message. Now news in detail. Nearly 60 years after he was recommended for the nation's highest military award, retired Colonel Paris Davis, one of the first black officers to lead a special forces team in combat, received the Medal of Honor on Friday for his bravery in the Vietnam War. At a crowded White House ceremony, Davis emphasized the positive of the honor rather than negative of the delay, saying it is in the best interest of America that we do things like this, thanking President Joe Biden, who draped a ribbon with the medal around his neck. He said, "God bless you. God bless all. God bless America." The belated recognition for the 83-year-old Virginia resident came after the recommendation for his medal was lost, resubmitted, and then lost again. It wasn't until 2016, half a century after Davis risked his life to save some of his men under fire, that advocates painstakingly recreated and resubmitted the paperwork. Biden described Davis as a true hero for risking his life amid heavy enemy fire to haul injured soldiers under his command to safety. When a superior ordered him to safety, according to Biden, Davis replied, "Sir, I'm just not going to leave. I still have an American out there." He went back into the firefight to retrieve an injured medic. In the culmination of the once prominent lawyer's fall from grace, Alex Murdaugh was sentenced to life in prison without parole Friday after being convicted of murdering his wife and son. Judge Clifton Newman asked Murdaugh if he had anything he wanted to say before sentencing him to 2 consecutive life terms, and the South Carolina attorney maintained his innocence. "As I tell you again, I respect this court, but I am innocent. I would never under any circumstances hurt my wife Maggie, and I would never under any circumstances hurt my son Paul," Murdaugh responded. "And it might not have been you. It might have been the monster you become when you take 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 opioid pills. Maybe you become another person," Newman replied, noting Murdaugh's decades-long addiction to painkillers. South Carolina attorney Alex Murdaugh was convicted of murder Thursday in the shooting deaths of his wife and son in a case that chronicled the unraveling of a powerful Southern family with tales of privilege, greed, and addiction. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before finding Murdaugh guilty of 2 counts of murder at the end of a 6-week trial that pulled back the curtain on the once prominent lawyer's fall from grace. Murdaugh, who is 54 years old, faces 30 years to life in prison without parole for each murder charge when court was scheduled to reconvene for sentencing at 9:30 a.m. Friday. After the verdict was read, Judge Clifton Newman denied a defense motion to declare a mistrial, saying the evidence of guilt is overwhelming. Once the hearing ended, Murdaugh was handcuffed and led out of the courtroom by 2 sheriff's deputies. His 52-year-old wife Maggie was shot 4 or 5 times with a rifle, and their 22-year-old son Paul was shot twice with a shotgun at the kennels near their rural Colleton County home on June 7, 2021. President Joe Biden visited the Senate on Thursday to demonstrate unity among Democrats, but he ended up endorsing a Republican priority instead. With Democrats acknowledging they cannot get much done in the closely divided Congress, Biden has pledged to try to find areas where the two parties can agree. He made good on that promise in remarks at a caucus luncheon, telling senators that he will sign a GOP-backed measure to overturn changes to the criminal code in the District of Columbia. Biden later tweeted, "I don't support some of the changes DC Council put forward over the mayor's objections, such as lowering penalties for carjackings. If the Senate votes to overturn what DC Council did, I will sign it." Accompanying Biden as he left the luncheon, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said he believes we can get a lot of good bipartisan stuff done in these 2 years, and that Democrats are filled with unity, optimism about 2024. The Justice Department on Thursday arrested 2 Kansas men on allegations that the pair illegally exported aviation-related technology to Russia and provided repair services for the equipment. Cyril Gregory Buanovsky and Douglas Robertson are charged with conspiracy, exporting controlled goods without a license, falsifying and failing to file electronic export information, and smuggling goods in violation of U.S. law. The charges come as the U.S. has drastically ramped up sanctions and financial penalties on Russia since its invasion of Ukraine began on February 24, 2022. Along with thousands of sanctions on people and firms, export controls on the Kremlin are meant to limit access to computer chips and other products needed to equip a modern military. The Justice Department says Buanovsky and Robertson owned and operated Canberra's trading company, which allegedly supplied aircraft electronics to Russian companies and provided repair services for equipment used in Russian-manufactured aircraft. A storm system merged eastward Friday, threatening heavy snow in the Midwest and Northeast after spawning likely tornadoes in Texas and Louisiana that damaged homes, businesses, a university campus, and left thousands without power. The storms will threaten the Tennessee and Ohio valleys with high winds and possible tornadoes as they move toward New England, officials said. Parts of southwestern Michigan and northern Indiana saw rain, freezing rain, sleet, snow, and strong wind gusts Friday, according to Indiana-Michigan Power. In Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear warned of possible tornadoes and 55 to 65 mph wind gusts after rain moves through the state. Several school districts closed in anticipation. The wind will really kick in after the storm moves through, Beshear said Friday. I don't want people to have confidence that it's going to be safe. New England was mostly sunny Friday morning ahead of the storm, expected to bring as much as 18 inches of snow and winds gusts as high as 40 mph to parts of New Hampshire and Maine. The National Weather Service issued a winter storm warning from 10 p.m. Friday until 7 p.m. Saturday and said that a mix of snow, sleet, and rain was expected in southern New England and that minor coastal flooding was possible in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. The South Korean and US militaries announced Friday they will hold their biggest joint field exercises in 5 years later this month, as the US flew a long-range B-1B bomber to the Korean peninsula in a show of force against North Korea. The North has threatened to take unprecedentedly strong action against such exercises. It's likely that it will respond to the upcoming training with missile tests because it views it as an invasion rehearsal. In a joint news conference, the South Korean and US militaries said they will conduct the Freedom Shield exercise, a computer-simulated command post training, from March 13 to 23 to strengthen their defense and response capabilities, and separate large-scale joint field training exercises called Warrior Shield FTX. Colonel Isaac L. Taylor, a spokesperson for the U.S. military, said the field training will include a combined amphibious drill and that their size would return to the scale of the Allies' earlier biggest springtime field exercises called Fall Eagle. The two countries last conducted Fall Eagle in 2018. They then cancelled or downsized some combined drills to support now stalled diplomacy with North Korea and guard against the COVID-19 pandemic. Recently, however, the two countries have been expanding their joint military exercises in the face of an evolving North Korean nuclear threat. A businessman who was facing conviction on bribery charges linked to Venezuela's state oil company killed his 3-year-old son before fatally shooting himself in a luxury condominium in Miami, police said. The bodies of Jose Manuel Gonzalez Testino and his son, Jose Manuel Gonzalez, were found Wednesday night at a Coconut Grove condominium during a wellness check. Police said a relative of the boy had contacted them after several unsuccessful attempts to contact the father. It is being investigated as a murder-suicide by way of gunshot wounds, Miami police spokesman Michael Vega told the Associated Press. Gonzalez Testino controlled multiple international and US-based companies and in 2019 pleaded guilty in federal courts in South Texas for his role in a bribery scheme involving Venezuelan state-owned Petróleos de Venezuela and its subsidiaries, according to the U.S. Justice Department. His sentencing was scheduled for the end of March in federal court in Houston. Gonzalez Testino had been arrested in July 2018 at the Miami International Airport and was later released on bail. U.S. Ambassador Cindy McCain was appointed Thursday to head the UN World Food Programme, the world's largest humanitarian organization which aims to help nearly 150 million people confronting conflicts, disasters, and impacts of climate change this year. The appointment of McCain, widow of Arizona Senator and 2008 Republican presidential candidate John McCain, was jointly announced by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and UN Food and Agriculture Organization Director General Ku Dongyu. McCain has been the US envoy to Rome-based WFP and FAO since November 2021, and the UN and FAO chiefs called her a champion for human rights with a long history of giving a voice to the voiceless. McCain will succeed David Beasley, a former South Carolina governor who has led WFP over the last 6 years, including through the COVID-19 pandemic and the global food crisis sparked by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now it's time for global updates. Hong Kong authorities on Friday were investigating the cause of a huge blaze that broke out overnight at a construction site in a popular shopping district and forced 170 people in nearby buildings to evacuate. No deaths or injuries have been reported after the fire erupted at the Mariners Club redevelopment project in the densely populated Tsim Sha Tsui district at about 11 p.m. Thursday. Multiple floors of the structure, including scaffolding, were on fire and burning debris floated in the air. The Empire Group's redevelopment plan was to build a 42-story architectural landmark to house the historic Mariners Club and a new hotel, the firm's website said. The fire was largely extinguished by 8:30 a.m., Deputy Chief Fire Officer Kyung Sai-ming said. Firefighters had battled the blaze for around 9 hours. When firefighters arrived at the scene Thursday night, flames were seen on multiple floors of the building, but only temporary firefighting equipment was available, Kyung said. The building is still under construction, so firefighting equipment commonly found in other buildings is not ready for use yet, he said. We needed a large number of people to supply water to the very high floors to fight the fire. So we faced many challenges. The construction materials there, including wooden boards and metal bars, also made it difficult for fire crews to move around, he added. A large fire broke out at a fuel storage depot in Indonesia's capital on Friday, killing at least 17 people, injuring dozens of others and forcing the evacuation of thousands of nearby residents after spreading to their neighborhood, officials said. The fuel storage station, operated by state-run oil and gas company Pertamina, is near a densely populated area in the Tanah Merah neighborhood in North Jakarta. It supplies 25% of Indonesia's fuel needs. At least 260 firefighters and 52 fire engines were struggling to contain the blaze in the nearby neighborhood, fire officials said. Video of the fire broadcast on television showed hundreds of people in the community running in panic while thick plumes of black smoke and orange flames filled the sky and firefighters battled the blaze. A preliminary investigation showed the fire broke out when a pipeline ruptured during heavy rain, possibly from a lightning strike, said Eko Kristiawan, Pertamina's area manager. He said the fire would not disrupt the country's fuel supply. The top diplomats of Australia, India, Japan, and the United States offered sharp but veiled criticism of China on Friday, even as they maintained their Indo-Pacific focused bloc is not aimed at countering Beijing. In comments at a public event and in a written statement, the four foreign ministers used buzzwords and phrases that reflected growing unease over China's influence in the region and made clear the group aims to be an alternative to China. Meeting in New Delhi, the four barely mentioned China by name and insisted that the so-called Quad group is designed to boost their own national interests and improve those of others through enhanced cooperation in non-military areas. Both the public comments and the statement had repeated references to the importance of democracy, rule of law, maritime security, and the peaceful settlement of disputes, all of which Beijing regards with suspicion when coming from Quad members. Malaysian former Prime Minister Najib Razak was acquitted Friday in the latest trial in response to the multi-billion-dollar looting of the One Malaysia Development Berhad State Fund. Najib, who is serving a 12-year prison term after losing the final appeal in his first of several corruption trials linked to the 1MDB scandal, was found not guilty on the charge of tampering with an audit report to cover up wrongdoings. Defense lawyer Muhammad Shafi Abdullah said the High Court ruled that prosecutors did not have sufficient evidence to prove Najib guilty of abusing his position as Prime Minister and Finance Minister to order amendments to the 1MDB audit report in 2016 before it was presented to Parliament. My client is very grateful to Allah for the decision today because it really uplifted his spirit and the desire to fight for his innocence, Shafi said Friday at a news conference. The 1MDB Development Fund was set up months after Najib became Prime Minister in 2009. Investigators allege more than 4.5 billion was stolen from the fund and laundered by Najib's associates through layers of bank accounts in the United States and other countries to finance Hollywood films and extravagant purchases that included hotels, a luxury yacht, art and jewelry. More than 700 million landed in Najib's bank accounts. King Charles III will travel to France and Germany for his first state visit since becoming monarch, Buckingham Palace said Friday, underscoring Britain's efforts to build bridges with its European neighbours following years of strained relations caused by Brexit. Charles and Camilla, the Queen Consort, are set to visit the European Union's two biggest countries March 26 to 31, hosted by Presidents Emmanuel Macron of France and Frank-Walter Steinmeier of Germany, the palace announced. The visit will celebrate the UK's relationship with France and Germany, marking our shared histories, culture and values, the palace said. It is also a chance to look forwards and show the many ways our countries are working in partnership, whether that be to tackle climate change, respond to the conflict in Ukraine, seize trade and investment opportunities, or share the best of our arts and culture. Highlighting the significance of the trip is the fact that it will be the first state visit by a British monarch since 2015. The late Queen Elizabeth, Charles' mother, stopped traveling abroad in her later years. A court in Cambodia convicted opposition leader Kem Sokha of treason on Friday and sentenced him to 27 years of house arrest, the latest blow in a campaign by the government to silence its critics or drive them out of the country. The ruling against the country's most prominent opposition politician not in exile, widely condemned by rights groups and foreign governments, comes just 4 months ahead of a general election. Kem Sokha's September 2017 arrest marked the beginning of a fierce campaign by Prime Minister Hun Sen's government to use the courts, widely considered to be under its influence, in a crackdown on dissent. Since then, most other top government critics have fled Cambodia to escape what were generally seen as politically inspired prosecutions. Kem Sokha's Cambodia National Rescue Party was seen as an electoral threat to Prime Minister Hun Sen in 2017, and his arrest came about 10 months before the country's last general election. The Supreme Court dissolved the party soon after, and its members were expelled from Parliament. The United States is offering a reward of up to $5 million for information that could lead to the capture of Congo's top jihadi, who leads an affiliate of the Islamic State group. The Rewards for Justice program, which is run by the U.S. Diplomatic Security Service, is seeking information about Seka Musa Baluko, the U.S. Embassy in Congo said. Baluko's group has engaged in brutal violence against Congolese citizens and regional military forces in eastern Congo's North Kivu and Ituri provinces, the embassy said. 2 years ago, the United States designated Baluku as a global terrorist and his group, Daesh DRC, as a foreign terrorist organization, blocking assets and property interests, the embassy said in a statement issued Thursday. Nigeria's opposition renewed calls for the election results to be overturned on Thursday, a day after the country announced its new president-elect. "We won the election and we will prove it to Nigerians," third-place Labour Party candidate Peter Obi said at a news conference in the capital. He said that the election would be remembered as one of the most controversial in Nigeria's history and that it was marred by irregularities. Hours later, second-place candidate Atiku Abubakar with the People's Democratic Party also rejected defeat and said he was consulting with his lawyers on how to challenge the outcome. "I have come to the conclusion that the processes and outcome of the presidential and National Assembly election of last Saturday were grossly flawed in every way and as such must be challenged," he told reporters in the capital, Abuja. At least 4 other parties are joining them in challenging the results. They have 3 weeks from the day the final tally was announced to appeal. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,703.96. The NYSE Composite is increased by 179.44 points or 1.16%. Tokyo stock close price is 27,927.47. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 428.60 points or 1.56%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,328.3927. The Shanghai Composite Index is increased by 17.74 points or 0.54%. Hong Kong stock close price is 20,567.54. The Hang Seng Index is increased by 138.08 points or 0.68%. Bombay stock close price is 59,808.97. The Sensex index is increased by 899.62 points or 1.53%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Jerry Richardson, the Carolina Panthers founder and for years one of the NFL's most influential owners until a scandal forced him to sell the team, has died. He was 86. Richardson died peacefully Wednesday night at his Charlotte home, the team said in a statement. Richardson became the first former NFL player to own a team since Chicago's George Halas when he landed the expansion Panthers in 1993. A former teammate of Johnny Unitas, who caught a touchdown pass in the Baltimore Colts' victory over the New York Giants in the 1959 NFL Championship game. Richardson only spent 2 years in the NFL before venturing into the restaurant business. He used his championship bonus money to open the first Hardee's in Spartanburg, South Carolina, close to where he had attended Oxford College. Mikaela Shiffrin's hunt for a record-time 86 career victory was extended for at least another day. The American skier's quest for a 5th overall World Cup title too. Shiffrin finished in 4th place Friday in a Super G that was owned by Cornelia Hutter, who finally gave the Austrian women's team its first victory of the season. Shiffrin was the ninth starter and trailed then leader Elena Curtani of Italy by 0.15 seconds and Lara Gut Behrami of Switzerland by 0.04. Hutter eventually edged Curtani by a mere 0.01 seconds. Shiffrin needs one victory to match Ingemar Stenmark's victory total on the all-time list. The Swede competed in the 1970s and 80s. Daniil Medvedev ended Novak Djokovic's 20-match winning streak by beating the world's top-ranked player 6-4, 6-4 to reach the final at the Dubai Championships on Friday. The third-seeded Medvedev will face defending champion Andrei Rublev in an all-Russian final that could have political overtones after Rublev reiterated his call for peace. Medvedev picked up trophies in Rotterdam and Doha before coming to Dubai and beating Djokovic to extend his winning streak to 13 matches, the second longest of his career. The former number one player broke Djokovic twice in the first set and again to open the second, eventually closing it out on his first match point. Medvedev hadn't beaten Djokovic since the 2021 US Open final for his first and only major title. That win denied Djokovic the first calendar year Grand Slam in men's singles since 1969. Djokovic then won their next 4 meetings. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest update. Millennium TV USA and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jadoo TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.